Okay, y'all, it's time for another car rant. I'm on the way to Hendersonville again. This time I'm going to meet my potential first goats for the goat farm. And Freddie and David just came on the radio and got me thinking about something I seen on Twitter this past week about ancestry work. And there's a lot of debates about ancestry work and about whether or not and about whether you gotta do it, whether if your ancestors were assholes, and a lot of different stuff. Now, I myself am adopted, and so most of the people that I work with at my ancestor altar are not genetically related to me, and that is really what I wanted to talk about, because you don't have to venerate only people that you are genetically related to. In my particular case, my genetic people aren't all that interested in me, and they weren't, from the get-go. Mostly my maternal biological grandpa in life, he was real upset when I first reached out to my birth mom, and she told me that because I got her number from him. He was the first person that I called in the family, and so he knew who I was, even though I had made up a story. He knew who I was, and by the time I got to her, she said, yeah, he told me you was going to be calling. And she said, he thinks it's just wrong. He don't think you ought to be calling. And so he was opposed to it in life, and when I started doing ancestor work, he had already died. And from the get-go, I just felt like a big old no from the bio side. And then when I went to Ireland, however, and so I had never, let me backtrack. So when I did, so my parents, we've discussed, my parents are assholes, and they will never be welcome on my ancestor altar. They will never be recognized, ever, on my ancestor altar. They are not welcome. There's a spiritual restraining order in place in advance. All the ancestors know, all the spirits know, you don't let them anywhere near me. But outside of them, everybody in the adoptive family, I was 7 weeks old when I was placed with these people. Everyone in the adopted family, from the minute, I'm looking for a Tractor Supply because I forgot to buy goat treats on the way out of town. I ain't one at this exit. I got to butter up the new potential babies. Anyway, from the time I was placed, the extended adoptive family were fantastic, and they considered me theirs, and they would fight you if you said otherwise, and that's the feeling I've gotten. And now they were pretty devout Baptists, they were Christians. I've never felt like anybody had any problem being venerated, and it's a little weird here in Appalachia. It's a little bit different. Now, my mama was real big about who's going to keep flowers on my grave after I'm dead. So there's a bit of a culture of ancestor veneration here anyway. They wouldn't call it that, but there's a culture of it under a different name, but that's basically what it is. So they ain't got no kind of problem with me burning incense. They ain't got no kind of problem with me giving them food and water, and and they damn sure want flowers on the grave. Mama was very plain about that before she died. So you best be keeping flowers on Mama's grave. So that ain't never been a problem. So they're cool with that. And again, in life, they considered me theirs. Even though there's no biological, no genetic connection. But, so when I went to Ireland, I spent the day that I spent a day at Rathcrogan with Laura O'Brien. Hey Laura, you're seeing this. Hold on, changing lanes. Anywho, so spent the day with Laura, and we went to several places in the Rathcrogan complex, and of course one of those stops was the main mound at Rathcrogan. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Ireland and how it's all set up, every province in Ireland, there are 5 provinces: Ulster, Leinster, Munster, Connaught, and Meath. That's the way it was back in the day. Now I think Meath is kind of absorbed in the rest of them. But anyway, so each one of those had a main ceremonial center. And in Connaught, that was Rathcrogan. And so the main mound at Rathcrogan is basically their version of Newgrange, if you're familiar with that, right? Or Laura would say Newgrange is Meath's version of Rathcrogan. Rathcrogan's not been excavated, so it's not, you can't go inside it like you can Newgrange. But so right now it's just a mound. And so we meditated on top of that mound that day, and when I was meditating, the only thing I really got is I got the word ancestors. And I told her that, and she said, yeah, I see, and she knows my history. She knows that I'm adopted, that my adopted parents were assholes, and that my birth mother rejected me when I found her. And she says, I see a line of mothers stretching out behind you, standing here, and they want me to tell you that what you've experienced is not how it's supposed to be. And she also told me later that she felt like I needed to do more research into the bio family, that I would find out that if I looked at mothers, if I looked at that line, that I would find out that they came from Ireland. And they did. It took me about 2 years after that trip to research my bio mother's line, and sure enough, her mother's mother, however far back it was in the 1700s, the first immigrant to America, indeed, was from Northern Ireland. So, and she said she felt in that line of ancestors a mix of blood and choice. So, my point is, doing ancestor work don't have to be all about just people you're genetically related to, okay? I work with mostly the people who raised me, mostly my adopted family. There's some folks from the bio fam that show up. I work with them. And the reason I mentioned Freddie and David Bowie at the top of this, Under Pressure was playing on the radio, is that Freddie Mercury is, I don't even know how to describe it, but he's on my ancestor altar. And so is David Bowie, and so is John Lennon. And I don't even know how to describe that. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know. But in my life, those 3 have meant something significant to me. And Freddie especially, out of the 3 of them. And it's really interesting. I can be really down and driving, and Freddie will come on the radio, and it's like he speaks to me. And I mean, I just feel like I have this relationship with Freddie Mercury that is just absolutely unexplainable. But and it's not just that, the song comes on the radio and I feel a little bit better. It's that the specific song will come on the radio in a meaningful way that's like a message that means something. And I don't know, it's weird. I don't know how that happened. I don't know why, but anyway, so my point is, everyone should be doing some kind of ancestor work, because you get so much out of it. And ancestors are the people that will have your back in a way that nobody else will. Some of them, some of them did horrible things. I have an ancestor that helped massacre an entire Native American tribe. I still acknowledge him. I have been to the place where that massacre occurred and made offerings and apologized. But I still acknowledge him. I mean, it is what it is. He is who he is. He's still in the line, you know. I don't mean I condone what he did. That's another thing. You can absolutely acknowledge the existence of these people and that their existence led to your existence without condoning their actions in life. That's a whole different thing. I have ancestors that own slaves. Not many, but I do have some. I have a lot of ancestors that fought in this for the Confederacy in the Civil War. They know damn well I don't agree with that. Hope Wyatt knows damn well that I feel like he came to me after I made that offering up in Virginia, apologizing for what he did to the Powhatan tribe, they know. I feel like, and I do feel like we grow on the other side, and I feel like we learn. But whether you feel called to do work like that and to try to make some amends and to work toward the healing of those ancestors and to try to make some of that better, now that's different. Maybe you have the bandwidth for that, maybe you have the spoons, maybe you don't. You don't have to do that. You're not responsible to do that. And if someone is an ancestor who abused you, that don't mean, just like my parents, when they get over there, I ain't doing jack shit for them. They can fuck right on off. That ain't happening. It doesn't mean that you have to work with all the ancestors. It doesn't mean that you have to work with any specific ancestor. But there's somebody out there that you can work with, that you can have a relationship with, that will benefit both of you. Because there's people out there that have been forgotten, that need somebody to feed them on the other side, that need somebody to acknowledge them on the other side, and that will welcome the attention and will welcome, and will do things for you and will help you in ways that, that's what ancestor veneration is for. It's to help both sides. And it's super, super beneficial. And yes, everyone should be doing it. And I am getting close to my exit now, and this video is getting long. So I think that's about all I wanted to say. Yeah, I think that's it. Find some ancestors to work with. It is something that will benefit you, whether you are blood related to them or not. You don't have to be. I'm not blood related to Freddie. I'm not blood related to most of the ancestors I work with. But it works, and I have a very deep and powerful practice with my ancestors. And they're still my ancestors, even though. Yeah. Got thoughts? Leave comments. See you next time I drive to Hendersonville. Bye, y'all.